All right, we're going to get started. Welcome, welcome, everyone. I'm Rhonda Logan, Councilwoman Rhonda Logan, representing District 1. And I'm just so happy to have everyone with us tonight, have all of you in webinar land joining us for our first community conversation. And I just want to let you know that this is the first of several that we'll have. We'll have one each week, and just wanted to kind of bring the conversation home. I know we've been inundated with international news, national news. We've had so much breaking news and so many different things coming at us. I just wanted to kind of bring it home to the community, to the grassroots level, to the kitchen table, and have this conversation in a way, in a manner that we can kind of digest and understand what we're doing. Our first topic is minding our businesses. And I chose that topic because I've spoken with so many small business owners, so many entrepreneurs, and, while we're out and about doing essential business, I would see, people out and they are very concerned, entrepreneurs and those people in my district that are out of work, may have lost their job or not sure of what their next move is. So we kind of wanted to, instead of everybody running around trying to find where the resources are, how to get them and access them, how to keep up with them, I thought maybe we ought to bring everyone together so you'll have one, platform to get the information firsthand. Because I was having difficulty myself kind of navigating through all the different areas. And so I'm so excited to have all of the experts here tonight, local experts in their respective fields. We have a great panel of speakers here tonight, and I'm just going to introduce everyone so we can get right to it. Our first panelist is Beverly Robertson. She is the president and CEO of the Greater Memphis Chamber. And our next guest, we have Leslie Smith, and you all just kind of wave. Leslie Smith, the president and CEO of the Epicenter. Mr. Eric Robertson, president of Community Lift. Rory Thomas, executive director of Tennessee Small Business Development Center. And Ms. Joanne Massey, the Director of Office and Business Diversity and Compliance for the City of Memphis. And I just want to, again, thank you all so much for being with us. It means a lot for District 1 for you all to stop by and spend some time with us. Just a couple of housekeeping things before we get started. Those of you that are viewing us, there is a question box that you can put your questions in as our guests are speaking and presenting. Ms. Robertson is going to be leaving, having to leave us soon. So we want you to submit questions in the question box for her while she is speaking. And after her presentation, we'll entertain those questions before we move to our next guest. Again, type those in and we'll get those to the correct person. And we just want you to take notes and be comfortable in your own homes, just listening and gaining insight into what is available for you. Lastly, I do want to encourage you to stay safer at home. Mayor Strickland has announced that the Safer at Home order will be extended until May or shortly thereafter. Please stay at home and go out only if you need to. And when you do go out, practice social distancing, staying 6 feet apart, and wear a mask. If you do not have a mask, inbox me your information and we can get you to resources or where you can find one. And with that having been said, I would like to now formally introduce our first presenter, Ms. Beverly Robertson, who is the president and CEO of Greater Memphis Chamber, the principal of Trust Marketing, and the retired president of the National Civil Rights Museum. She has amassed over 30 years of experience in public community relations, communications, strategic planning, and research. Working with Trust Marketing since 1992, she has been responsible for landing such national accounts as the Promise Companies, Holiday Inn Worldwide, Midas International, Merrill Lynch, just to name a few. Other major accounts involve the City of Memphis, Shelby County Government, Loma 101 College, MATA, and a number of efforts involving grassroots and community building initiatives. During her tenure at the National Civil Rights Museum, Ms. Robertson raised $43 million, which included the completion of an expansion of the museum and a capital endowment campaign. And in 2010, the National Civil Rights Museum received national recognition as one of the top 10 national treasures by USA. And I want to share accolades. I always like to share what people have done so you can understand the breadth of their experience and why they're speaking to you tonight. So without further ado, I'd like to present Ms. Robertson. Oh, did we lose her? Ms. Robertson, can you hear us? Okay. Okay, we're going to come back to Ms. Robertson. She's having a bit of technical difficulty. And she's going to, are you able to present over the phone now? Okay, we're going to move on to our next presenter, and then we'll come back. We're going to move to Leslie Smith. Leslie is the president and CEO of the Epicenter and is the founding president and CEO of the Epicenter, a nonprofit hub of Greater Memphis entrepreneurial movement. Using a systems approach, Smith leads a team that drives strategy and measures impact among a network of partners to support new and existing startups and small businesses in order to create a just, inclusive, and growing economy that benefits all Memphians. Her role in Memphis comes after 5 years of successful leadership as the president of and CEO of Detroit's Tech Town Business Incubator and Accelerator, where she expanded tech businesses, company creation, and launched robust and impactful regional collaborations. She was also Director of Business Acceleration for the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, overseeing the state's $300 million startup investment portfolio and managing the statewide innovation economy and ecosystem. She's currently on several boards and very active in the Memphis area, and we want to extend the floor to you tonight. Welcome, Ms. Smith.
Thank you very much for having me. I want to remark at the end of Beverly's introduction, it refers to the museum as a national treasure. I think we'd all agree she's also a national treasure. So
absolutely, absolutely.
It is great to have her. I'm sorry she's having technology challenges, and when she jumps back on, if you need to push me so she can get in time, just let me know. Thank you for having me tonight. I think the first thing I will say is that this group of people on the phone collectively understand the fear, sort of pain and concern you are going through in this moment. And as represented by the number of times we talk together collectively as a group or individually, you are, I think, seeing an unprecedented collaboration across the community to ensure that y'all have the resources and support you need to make your way through this crisis. And I'm just humbled to be a part of it. The role we play specifically within the community is that we work with startups as they launch new ideas and grow those early stage firms over the first 5 to 7 years of life. And we also work with small businesses who are trying to grow their businesses through a new market or a pivot. And in this Corona crisis, we are all thinking about ways to pivot our businesses. And what we specifically mean about that is, how does a restaurant convert to being able to do curbside food delivery so that they can continue to serve the community and achieve revenues? And we see that by the hundreds of companies across the community. What we specifically try to do is ensure that if you come in through our intake process, which you can do through a simple form on our website, which is www.epicentermemphis.org. we will review your information and reach out to one of our partners or one of our programs and connect you so you can get the advice that you need. So a lot of things we're hearing right now are about concerns related to what type of lending or financing people should pursue, particularly with the payroll protection program. And my partners on this call will talk in detail about that. We can help connect you to those partners. We also have coaches and mentors who will spend at least an hour on the phone with you to talk to you about your concerns and work to the resources you need. We have a weekly self-care session on Wednesdays at lunchtime to really focus on all of the anxieties and emotion of this moment for folks, and a whole variety of other things. But what I will say is that we wake up every single day as fellow Memphians with the intent to meet you where you are and try to help you solve your problems. No question is silly, no request is ridiculous, and we will try to find exactly what you need in this moment. So if you leave here knowing anything, it's that you're not alone. We know how important you are to the Memphis economy and community, and there's a bunch of us, you know, a handful of us represented on this call and dozens more partners in the community who stand ready to serve you.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Are you all doing anything different during this time than you normally do? What are you doing a little different that impacts the small business or the entrepreneur?
We are, thank you, Councilwoman, for that question. So we also run a co-working space in Cooper Young, which has gone fully virtual. Our team has gone fully virtual, as have all of our programs. So we run a number of boot camp programs across the community in 5 or 6 neighborhoods. We're doing those all in this new sort of virtual environment. We've also pivoted all of our programming and resources to respond to the crisis. So any pools of funding we have are now diverted to filling the gap during this moment while folks try to find other dollars. And again, if folks have any interest or question about that, we have an intake form with a brief survey that will help us connect them to those resources in the fastest way possible. There's Beverly.
Okay, can you all hear me? Okay, great. Okay, thank you so much for that presentation, and I'm sure we're going to have questions for you as we continue to move along. I want to, now that we have Ms. Robertson back, thank you so much for hanging in there and getting back on. We're going to yield the floor to you to share with our viewers. Are you able to hear us now, Ms. Robertson? Can you hear us now? Okay, we'll come back. So we're going to jump in now, and when she comes back, we'll just let her jump right in. We're going to jump to Eric Robertson. Mr. Robertson is the president of Community Lift in River City Capital. Mr. Robertson has over 18 years of experience in the field of economic and community development and has served as the CAO of the Downtown Memphis Commission. Before joining DMC, Mr. Robertson led housing and economic development programs at Lemoyne-Owen College, CDC, in the historic Soulsville, USA neighborhood. And so I just want to let you know that he is a graduate of the prestigious Achieving Excellence program, and it is an 18-month executive leadership and education course sponsored by NeighborWorks America in partnership with the Harvard Kennedy School of Government. Welcome tonight. We can't hear you. Hold on one second. Can you all, team staff, make sure he's not muted?
I think I had myself muted in case the kids ran in. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but now we can't see you.
Oh.
Did you take your
Can you see me now?
Okay, there you go. There, we can see you and
Okay.
hear you, so jump right in.
All right. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm, as Councilwoman Logan said, I'm Eric Robertson with River City Capital and Community Lift. For the purpose of today, I'll spend most of my time talking about the work of River City Capital, which is something called a community development financial institution. That simply means we are a non-traditional lender that we make loans to small businesses across Memphis and Shelby County. About 90% of our loan portfolio are African-American owned businesses and women-owned businesses. It was really about 100% is African-American women-owned, and just African-American is about 90% of our entire portfolio. During this time, we are still making loans to businesses that have not been as adversely affected by COVID-19. So we still want to make sure that our economy is moving forward. For those businesses that are being affected, we are working with them and being a referral source and helping people apply for such programs as the PPP and all the other SBA programs made available, and or referring them to sources of funds such as the new fund that I'm sure Ms. Massey is going to discuss, as well as some new funds that have been rolled out by the EDGE organization that can be some forgivable loans or essentially grants if you adhere to some of the stipulations that they have. We can be a resource. I want to make my information available. You can email me at Eric, E-R-I-C, at communitylift.org. That's Eric at communitylift.org. And if you have any further questions or you need to be put in touch with one of these entities that may have some of the forgivable loans, or you want to talk to us about the types of loans that we make or potentially seeking us for loans, we would be more than happy to talk with you and potentially help you in any way we can.
Awesome, awesome. Now, in terms of previous relationship, would someone have to have a previous relationship with you all before receiving assistance or support or advice?
Absolutely not. I just got word that this current round of PPP funding has been voted on by the Congress, and so it includes some separate funding for CDFIs. We're going to be waiting on the guidelines for that to see if our CDFI is eligible. But if we are eligible, I promise you we will become a PPP lender offering that service to businesses, and you won't have to have a previous relationship. That was the whole thing that was hanging up in some ways this latest round. I think it was a couple of things. It was one of a couple of things that was hanging up, but I'm happy to say that it's passed and CDFIs have been included. So now we just are going to wait on the guidelines to make sure we are eligible. And if we're eligible, we will become a PPP program lender.
Oh, wonderful. And so nonprofit, small business owners, entrepreneurs, they all will be able to come to you.
Yes, absolutely. The goal was, people heard that there was difficulty obtaining loans if you didn't have a prior relationship, and in particular, it was just having a prior relationship. It was, did you have a loan with the bank? And so, in order to try to fix that, the new legislation expanded to CDFIs such as our organization, to credit unions, so like Orion Credit Union, or other credit unions, and it also expanded to minority-owned banks, so banks like Tri-State Bank. Now, whether these banks will choose to participate in the program, we'll probably be finding out. I'm sure Leslie's going to be all on top of that, and others, to find out who else will be participating with this expansion in the community, so we can make that information available. But the latest round has expanded who can participate in the program. And as I said, we haven't received the guidelines yet in terms of exactly which CDFIs are eligible, but if we are, we intend to participate.
Outstanding. Okay, we appreciate that. Hang on, because I'm sure there are going to be questions for you. I'm going to switch to Miss Robertson.
Can
We're
you
going
see
to, we're
me
going to
and
keep,
can you hear me?
we can see you and hear you. We're not going to give up. We don't quit. We grit and grind here in District 1. So go ahead and have the floor. I've already introduced you formally, but just want to let you have all the time you need. And
Okay, look,
congratulations on your new appointment to the governor's task force.
thank you very much. I want to talk a little bit about what the chamber is doing to support small business. And I
Yes,
also want to talk a little bit about some of the recovery efforts that are underway so that you all know what's going on and how we are sort of looking at this over the next several weeks. So let me
absolutely.
start off with the work of the chamber and the kind of work that we've been doing. And by the way, let me just thank each one of you, Leslie, Rory, Joanne, Joselle has been involved in this. Rory, we've been a partner from the early days of this with the SBA disaster injury loan. Leslie, we've had conversations. So please know, Councilwoman Logan, that we have been working collaboratively to help our communities. And that is so important to us. We care about the small businesses out there. Frankly, I have one. So I know about it up close and personal. So I'm not talking about what I think, I'm talking about what I know personally. So let me say that from February 18th, we started getting involved in beginning to communicate information out about health department statistics, what was required of everybody publicly to really get ready to protect themselves against this COVID-19 virus. And then we touched base with Rory about the SBA disaster injury loan, and we were connected twice to the Atlanta office to put people on the phone talking directly to the SBA so that we could have the information necessary to begin to communicate to our small businesses about how they could take advantage of it. Now, I will say this, the intended users of this were not necessarily the ones who got the money. Some of the folks who got the money, because there were so many applications in such a short period of time, there were folks who got the money that now the government is asking them to give it back
Oh,
because
wow.
they should not have gotten it. Yeah, they are, and they're giving it back. Several of them have already said somebody got $20 million, they're giving it back. Another firm got $10 million, they're giving it back because we need money to be available for small business. And the legislation that was just passed will definitely have application to the small businesses in this community and other communities, because frankly, small business is the engine that drives this economy. And
That's
if we
right.
don't have small business, we don't have an effective working economy. So we need to do that. So in addition to that, we have had about 33 webinars, and those webinars have included everybody from those experts in the SBA loan category, the payroll protection program and plan. We had webinars about that so people understood how to access that. We've had webinars from lawyers that talked about what businesses need to do now, small and large businesses, to help them navigate some of what they're going through. We have also had our elected officials from Kustoff to Cohen, and now we're going to try to get with Marsha Blackburn so that she knows that she needs to be fighting for Memphis too. We got to talk to everybody to get help for
That's right.
Memphis, Tennessee. So those are some of the things. We do daily updates. We've done surveys with our members, and we have Joanne has actually added to the survey document that we have so she can sample small businesses and what small businesses needs are, so we can identify what those gaps are and we can fill those gaps based off of data resulting from calling them personally. So
Oh,
we're
great.
not just sending somebody out there. Joanne is participating. She's identified questions. We're giving her feedback based on the information that we are receiving. And I have to say that one of the major resources that we have is our website. If you go to memphischamber.com, you're going to find that there are a lot of resources on that website. And let me tell you what they include. They include information about small business and hospitality, how you access resources for small business. They include community and individual resources. So if there are individuals that you know need help, you can go and click on that particular area on our website and get information. There are some general links because we have provided every webinar that we've had information links. So you go in and you learn what's going on out here and how do you access those resources. The other one is coronavirus rumor mill. So we're trying to control the rumors by adding facts and not fiction.
Okay.
And the other thing is there's a message from the Greater Memphis Chamber. There are a number of loan programs, and I have a grid that has been developed, and it does include what City of Memphis is doing. It includes what Downtown Memphis Commission. All of this is money for small business. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 small business loan programs.
We lost your, we can't hear you.
You can't hear me now?
Okay, now you're back on.
Oh,
Okay,
okay. Thank you. There are about 6 major initiatives that have been launched by various organizations to support small business, and there are eligibility requirements. But of these 6, I'm sure some of these people on this phone or on this video will be able to access some of these. I think Joanne will talk about some. Eric's talked about some. I know Leslie can talk about some, but Downtown Commission has some. And I've got some specific numbers that can be called. I'll be happy to send that to you, Councilwoman Logan, so
okay.
that you can communicate that directly to the people who are on the line. Just a little bit about recovery. I sit on 3 recovery teams: City of Memphis recovery team, I sit on the governor's state recovery team, and I sit on what we're calling Metro Cities recovery team. And I can tell you that the way the governor is managing this, I want you to understand that his releasing the stay-at-home orders does not apply to the 4 major metros. So
Okay.
Memphis is exempt, Nashville is exempt, Knoxville and Chattanooga. He is waiting on the Metro Cities Task Force to provide a series of recommendations that would be germane to Memphis. And
Okay.
so his commissioners and all of them have a responsibility to deliver specific recommendations to the governor, but those recommendations will be vetted first by a group that is on the task force, and I'm a part of the group that will be vetting all of the recommendations from the respective commissioners, and I will make sure that I communicate that to our city council, our county commission, because we need to understand what those recommendations will be. They're going to impact all industries. So I look forward to getting those. Now, from the Metro City standpoint, there are 3 major goals and objectives that we have. The first one, protect the public health. Number 1, we've got to do this in a way that protects our public. Number 2,
Okay.
we've got to focus on data and not dates. You know, a lot of people are talking about we're going to open up on this date, and we're going to look, we need to open up on a date when we're ready that allows us to protect our people. The third one is make sure that we are doing this recovery in a manner that does not require that we have to go down again and then come back up. So we are really trying to be measured in how we look at this. There are a couple of real important issues that we've got to address. One is testing. We've got to figure out how we can test more people. When we have a call with the health department every week, there's a chamber call. So we're talking to somebody that's either an infectious disease person or the health department. And the health department has issues because they've scheduled testing for people who have symptoms and people don't meet the appointments. That's a concern. So now we are engaged in doing research in conjunction with the health department to determine why people are not making their appointments. Because if they let this go too long, it's going to be beyond the point of being able to save them. So we got to figure that one out. The second issue that we have is this asymptomatic issue. The reason that's important is because recent data is showing that people who are serving us on the front line, grocery store clerks, nurses in hospitals, they're testing asymptomatic. That means they can pass it on. and they don't have any signs themselves. So people who are on the front line, we've got to do targeted asymptomatic testing. We've got to figure that out, because we don't want you to go into a grocery store and be talking to a clerk, and inadvertently they're talking, you can get it even with them communicating to you. So that's a huge issue, and opening up when we haven't addressed that issue is going to be a concern. So let me just end my comments. I said a lot and I didn't mean to say so much, but what I do want you to know is that there is a plan that has been drafted by city and county government about reopening and recovery, and it is a reasonable plan. Nashville has just distributed theirs, so I'm going to do some comparing what they're talking about doing and what we're talking about doing. We're working with both the county mayors and the city, so we finally gotten together, because the county mayors at one point were very adamant about, let's flip the switch, let's turn it on right now, and let's get our business going, and let's get this economy rolling. Well, human life is a consideration as it relates to that. And if they do that, I don't want them to bring any of their people into Memphis to get treated, because we're going to have our full load of people that we need to deal with in our area. But I think we're finally on the same page. So let me stop and allow somebody to go ahead and finish. I'll try to stay on. I've got a meeting after this, but this is an important enough conversation for me to stay on, so that if people have questions, you can ask me questions. And I didn't finish everything I needed to say, but I got most of the important things out on the table.
Oh, and take your time. One thing I did, you mentioned that there were 6 loans in Memphis that people can access. Are any of those forgivable loans? And do you know of any grants that that's connected with the chamber or any of your partners?
I have actually been spending some time talking to foundations about trying to set up something that would be akin to a grant program, so it's not a payback kind of thing. I have been meeting with them, and I've shared with them my concerns about small business. Trust me, they're also very concerned. They're deeply concerned about it. So we're going to see what some of these foundations will be able to do, because people need money. Now, the grant programs that I talked to you about, the 6, do have some eligibility requirements. Some of them are not stiff, and some of the folks on the phone would be able to access them. I'd love to be able to make sure that you have a copy of these, so that you will have the details about eligibility, how much money. On one of the programs, it's a $2,000 to $5,000 amount. On one, it's a $5,000 to $35,000 amount. So it's substantial in some instances, and their accessibility would be important. So once I get off of this call, I will send this information to you, and you will have that, and you can share that. And if we make any headway with the foundations, I'll let you know that as well.
Okay, thank you so much for taking that step and reaching out to the foundations, to these larger companies to come in and try to help with this concern as well, because we have a lot of entrepreneurs that are the bread and butter of Memphis, the ones that actually make things happen, that we want to make sure we address. So thank you so much for staying with us, and as long as you can, we appreciate you being here. If you think of something else, just jump right in. Right now, we're going to move to Mr. Rory Thomas. Thank you for being patient, Mr. Thomas. Mr. Thomas is with the Tennessee Small Business Development Center, and he is the executive director. It is located at Southwest Tennessee Community College here in Memphis. Mr. Thomas holds a BSBA in finance and an MBA from Christian Brothers University, and a second master's in management from University of Phoenix, so well qualified. He has an extensive background. He spent time at Morgan State in the wealth management department and the MMBC Continuum, where he provided consulting services for minority and women-owned businesses. So we appreciate you being here and well acclimated yourself. So thank you so much, and we're going to let you have the floor.
Thank you. I was telling my wife, I just hope I did not go after Miss Beverly Robertson. So,
Look at the draw, baby.
It
But really glad to be here. Every organization represented is doing a tremendous job, and we're really blessed in Memphis to have this ecosystem of partners willing to work together to help our small businesses, and those starting up as well. So just quickly about Small Business Development Center. So SBDCs, we are SBA's largest program. So there's over 900 centers across the country. We're 98% of us are housed at a local college or university. So for Memphis, we're housed at Southwest Tennessee Community College. And so there's 14 SBDCs across the state. So Tennessee State University, MTSU, Pellissippi State in Knoxville, and so forth. So we first help entrepreneurs realize the dream of business ownership and use the great tools and resources that the SBA gives to help companies remain competitive and hopefully grow at times. So some of the biggest things that we provide: free one-on-one business counseling and also free training workshops for our clients. So some recent things as it relates to SBA. Of course, a lot of questions and how we spend most of our days now dealing with some of the SBA loan programs. So the first one that came out, of course, was the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, which we call EIDL. Loan funding would go up to $2 million, 3.75% interest rate. And as you imagine, things began to change. So as we are today, there's still 3.75% interest rate, but a deferment for 1 year. So basically like getting a car, getting your car and not having to make a payment for 1 year. That's what's available right there, and it's up to 30 years repayment. Also, and we'll talk about PPP, Paycheck Protection Program, but you can use these funds from EIDL for other purposes. So others accounts payable, operating expenses, things that you have that are non-payroll related as well. So that's a good thing about that program. And of course, I think a couple weeks ago, it came out about the EIDL Advance, where businesses could get up to $10,000 advanced to them after a successful completed application. So there was changes with that, and then it became an emphasis based upon the number of employees that you had in getting those EIDL advances. So a lot of Tennessee firms started getting the EIDL advances late part of last week and into this week. So a lot of business owners have indicated, and we tell them just check your bank account. They didn't get official notice or anything, but it showed up in their bank account as a pleasant surprise for some. So so the EIDL advances are growing. I think in Tennessee, the last data that I had as of Monday, I think over 12,000 companies have already gotten their advances. So that's something that businesses, until everything gets signed by the president, that will open up again for EIDL, but no one can apply for EIDL right now. Next would be the Paycheck Protection Program, which is, of course, has gotten a lot of buzz. I also ran out of money pretty swiftly. And I think as Eric mentioned as well, some of the challenges with some of the smaller businesses that they had. And also I wanted to share the chamber, I believe on you all's website as well, has a great link in which they surveyed a lot of local banks to find out about, hey, are they accepting new non-existent customers for Paycheck Protection Program? But this program can go up to $10 million, up to 75% of it, if it's used for payroll purposes, could be forgiven. The other 25% could be forgiven if it's used for mortgage, interest, rent, and utilities. So this is one that you go directly through a bank. It originally was only SBA lenders, but then it expanded into other financial institutions and credit unions as well to be able to do it. So a big question that I get from business owners right now who may have missed out on the Paycheck Protection Program early is if they should go ahead and start connecting with smaller community banks. And it's really up to that business owner if they feel that, hey, they have the better opportunity or could get a better relationship with a smaller community bank. It's really up to them. So whoever gets it in first into the SBA E-Trans system, if you believe it's going to be the bank that you're with, or if you think you have a better opportunity with another bank, definitely explore your options. because the biggest thing is making sure that you get your funding so that you can retain your employees and kind of make it through this pandemic during this time. Other SBA things, just your bridge loans are available up to $25,000 through SBA existing, SBA preferred lenders. And also something that came out recently, just the SBA loan debt relief. So if you have an existing SBA loan, SBA over the next 6 months, they're going to make those payments for you. The principal, the interest, and other fees that were being charged. So that is something that's good that's happening right now. So if you have some questions or about PPP, about EIDL, or just want some advice, or want to connect with other federal resources that's available, you can register for advising with us. So just tsbdc.org/advising, and a team member will get in contact with you, usually within 72 hours, to make an appointment and go over your individual needs.
Okay, great. I do have a question that's coming in. I'm going to put it out here, but we'll answer it once Ms. Massey is done with her presentation. The question is, what is being done to assist small businesses like beauty and barbershops? These are self-employed business owners, and the criteria in place does not assist them. So if you all that have already presented would kind of think about that and have a response to that, we're going to go now to Ms. Massey. And I would, as soon as your bio comes up, I am going to introduce you. I appreciate you, your patience. Ms. Massey is the Director of Business Diversity and Compliance here in the city of Memphis, and the Title VI Coordinator. She's also, which is something I didn't know, is the founder and principal consultant for Lewis Massey Associates, LLC. Ms. Massey has an undergrad in business administration from Lamont & Owen, a master's degree in business administration and finance from Benedictine University, and is a certified compliance administrator, had her certification from Morgan State University. She is the lead business development consultant for Governor Bill Haslam, Tennessee Department of Economic and Community Development. She served in that capacity, and a tenure in which she secured over $3 million in investments for West Tennessee counties. She's very active here in the city on different boards, is a wife and mother of 3 children. And I want to say that she is very instrumental in the city and what's being done for small businesses. When Mayor Strickland was inaugurated in 2016, the city of Memphis was only spending about 12% of its contract dollars with minority firms. And in the mayor's first 18 months in office, under her leadership as well, the city improved its MWBE spending by a whopping 69%, and Memphis efforts are turning heads nationwide. So we appreciate all of your efforts and everything that you do and the care that you give to our small businesses, and you have the floor.
Well, thank you, Councilwoman. Thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this very prestigious panel. And I will tell you what, it's already been said, but this is truly a collaboration. What you see here is a handful of the group that meets on a regular basis. And Beverly and the Chamber has led our efforts in this crisis in so many ways, and really hit the ground running with information for our business owners, especially when everyone realized that we were in a crisis. The Chamber was already, as a Chamber should be, and as they stand at the model nationwide, they were in front of this. And then, of course, Rory and the SBA really came through with information and actually being able to give us tools that could triage our businesses immediately. Rory has been honestly a godsend in getting information to us to help businesses and to our business owners directly. And so they're a small but mighty team. They make it happen. And you have to indulge me with these compliments, because the thing is what I really want your listeners and everyone that's on this call to know is that there is no one group that is making this happen, but it is a collective. And the way for us to be successful in this community is for Memphis to do what we have always done, whether it was basketball, football, you know, rallying around our kids and rallying around our families, our community. You can't talk about Memphis to a Memphian, because they're gonna shut you down. This is our collaboration. And so this is the group here with Epicenter being the front door for startups and small businesses. And let me tell you, Leslie, many years ago now, maybe 3, I gave her the honorary crown of being a Memphian. I know she has come here and honestly set this community ablaze, and her passion is just really shown with not only startup businesses, but all small businesses. And you know, I know she has a particular heart for our small minority and women businesses too, and her team is fabulous. And then, of course, Eric is the trendsetter that he is with Community Lift and with River City Capital. So we're here together showing that and demonstrating. And Councilwoman, it was just genius, because you picked these folks to bring them together to talk about what we're doing. As you said, you know, Mayor Strickland has made small minority and women businesses a priority since the beginning of his tenure and his administration. With our office and what we've been able to do is really not only just turn around the focus and priority on small business, but being a part of this collaboration. Beverly mentioned Joselle and MMBC, and that prioritizing of the businesses that make up the majority of our community. And so we talked about the way that small businesses are challenged right now. And some of the things that we've seen from our office, and we were able to navigate through that, is the collection of information. How do our businesses receive information? So just for your listeners, and I'm going to be as quick as possible here, but for your listeners, they should know the way that they can connect to all of these folks, whether it's directly or through our office, is by calling our Entrepreneurs Network Center. Although we're telecommuting now, we are available to direct them to any of them and other resources, and they can reach out. TSBDC has joined us as a part of our Business Navigator platform, is what we're calling it. So if they call 901-636-9300, again, that phone number is 901-636-9300, they could be directed to any of the resources that are available in the city, and we'll do a triage. Beverly mentioned about the survey. It's so important for us to know how our businesses are doing, and so we're utilizing that. I'm going to kind of go over the 2 loan funds that Mayor Strickland created a couple of weeks ago in response to this crisis. As we saw, you know, TSBDC and SBA with the Emergency Income Disaster Loan. Is that right, Rory? EIDL. That loan, along with the PPP, we saw that our community really needed something that was going to be immediate. So we created the Economic Hardship Emergency Loan Fund, which is the $2,000 to $5,000 that Beverly mentioned. And again, I know you'll get this from her, but just for your listeners right now, we're accepting applications. We are asking that the businesses be located within the city of Memphis. So I know a lot of the callers are on the call right now are located in your district. We want your district folks to know, the entrepreneurs to know that they have somewhere that they can go right now to get funding. That we're actually, we had 90 inquiries in the last week. We're going to be cutting checks next week for 10 of those businesses. And so you'll hear more about that, but they can call our office again, 901-636-9300 to hear about that. We're partnering with the Housing and Community Development Division for the City of Memphis on the Small Business Resiliency Loan Fund, and those applications will be available in 2 weeks. The biggest thing that I really want you guys to know and to take from this is that, again, like I said, this is a collaboration. This ability to facilitate information and to collaborate, bring together these organizations is going to result in what I know Beverly was hinting to when we were talking about reviving our economy and not going down, but trying to stay as steady as we can and continue to lift up. Small business is really critical to the continuity of our community. And without our small businesses being strong, and we can go on and talk about history and all of that, but without our small businesses being strong, it's going to be a lot harder for our economy to turn around. So what we really want our business owners to know that there is hope, there is resources available right now for them to take advantage of. Don't delay. The SBA is going to be putting out some more funding. We're here to help you. Don't be discouraged. If you see forms and you think that you can, you think that you don't qualify, like Beverly said, some of those big companies who have people working for them that apply for those loans, they got them because they applied. But if a small business doesn't apply, you won't get the opportunity. You won't get the loan, so you have to apply.
Okay, great. That's good to know. So, and to answer the question the viewer sent in, the loan that you just mentioned, is that one resource? Is that a resource, Ms. Matthew?
Yes, it is. In fact, so you mentioned about the barbers and the stylists. That is a loan that they can access. Again, that's the Economic Hardship Emergency Loan. They can call our office at 901-636-9300. Now, our loans are...
Would you give that number again?
It's 901-636-9300. Now, our loans are actual loans. As you know, Councilwoman, we're discussing about some additional funding. As I mentioned, the Division of Housing and Community Development is going to be allowing us to use community development block grants for some loans, and we're looking at whether or not those are going to be forgivable. But Downtown Memphis Commission does have a loan pool that is a forgivable loan. It's actually grants, a forgivable loan. And then EDGE, the Economic Development Growth Engine, has a grant program. And let me tell you, they haven't even scratched the surface. There's $1 million there. The only requirements that they really have, and they're very general requirements, that the business must be located in a new market tax credit, which is basically a lot of Memphis in the neighborhoods. And there's a app on their page that you can check and put your address in to see if you qualify. The other thing, the other qualification with them is that you can't be a work at home business. You have to have a brick and mortar, some kind of shop. And then they'll ask for your tax return and pictures of your place along with the ID. So they've only, I can't speak for them. I'm not speaking for EDGE, but I do know that they're still accepting applications for that grant program. Now, I will say this, Councilwoman, and this is very important, and I know all my partners will agree. The key to a successful business is not just grabbing for money right now, but it is looking at your business structure, how you can stand on your legs, what kind of business planning. And so TSBDC, Epicenter, Community Lift, our office, we all offer consultations around businesses and helping them to revamp and to address the challenges beyond just funding. And then of course with the chamber, that's where the access to opportunities are, in working through their supplier diversity efforts that they have. Beverly has been just phenomenal in working to ensure that the chamber has that front and center. And then also with our office, and you mentioned about the city contracting, city projects are still going on. Our businesses are still getting paid, and they're getting paid, I promise you, on time. Again, Mayor Strickland has made it a priority to pay our small businesses. So there's still opportunity out there. So we're asking businesses, don't just close your doors. Now, obviously, businesses that are non-essential, like the stylists and the barbers, and those that have personal care and such. But contractors are still working and should still be working. They just need to be practicing the social distancing. And again, all of us here are able to answer those questions for businesses.
And I just want to add, Councilwoman Logan, if that person who asked the question may not be the owner of the salon, but he or she is just a stylist, and they have filed their taxes, the Paycheck Protection Program allows for people who file 1099s to be able to apply. And so you can reach out to any of the entities here today, and we can help you. And now that that's been passed and approved, they can get in the queue to take advantage of that as an opportunity to support their loss of income, even if they're not the business owner, but they're just the barber or the stylist working inside of a salon. If they file their taxes and they have, they can go through as a 1099 applicant to the program. And Rory may be able to describe it better, but I just want people to know that that's an opportunity out there as well.
Okay, great. And did you want to add anything to that? Now, speak to them being a stylist as well as an owner of the shop. I know there's a gentleman that owns a barber school, and part of it was the school, and then part of it was the barber shop. So where does that kind of lie? What direction would you give someone in that regard, in that position? I'm sorry. And first of all, let me welcome Councilwoman Cheyenne Johnson to the conversation. Thank you for joining us tonight, my colleague. Okay, Mr. Thomas.
Well, first I would say for almost anyone, apply for whatever you can. I think Joanne was mentioning, hey, you won't get it unless you apply. So
apply.
Right. So and I think as well, something we found out, things more benefits continue to get added. So even if you did have that loan, things become forgivable, or they start making payments for you. So different things. So if you don't apply, like was mentioned, you can't be in the game. So they can still apply for PPP, for EIDL, for all of these other different programs that's available for them. And so, it relates to applications. So some people own, different businesses, of course. So it's usually an application for each business. So if I'm a business owner that has, own 3 or 4 different businesses, I have to apply for each business. So if that.
And can I add, Councilwoman, it may seem cumbersome, especially a small business owner, when it's just them, but that's where you can call any of us. I know my office, Epicenter, TSBDC, the Chamber, we all will help you with those applications. And for us, the business navigators are set up virtually, as Rory mentioned. So even though we can, for each other's safety, be with you, but we can virtually, whether we get on the phone or we get on any of these platforms and help you. But the business owners just need to hear that. I talked to one today that didn't have any idea about any help, and just because he was on social media and basically pleading for help, we were able to answer, but we only saw it there. So thank you, Councilwoman. I know that everyone else has, but thank you for giving us this opportunity to share what we're doing and what's available. And I know Councilwoman Johnson is on the phone. She's always beating the drum about small businesses. And so thank you for being an advocate, both of you, for the clients that we serve.
And we definitely want them to take advantage of what you have to offer. Someone mentioned that they, as a business owner or an entrepreneur, could not get, there was no platform for them to complete the unemployment assistance. Can any of you speak to that? I know that may not be your expertise, but Is there anything you could shed? Has that been changed for business owners, the platform for them to
I-
file unemployment?
So this is Leslie. I think while we don't have direct control or responsibility for unemployment, on these weekly calls that we have as a collaboration, we have members of state government who can help us sort of navigate those processes. So I think the most important thing that I would encourage people to do, as Joanne has suggested, is to reach out. And the reason it's important to reach out to us is, A, we make decisions based on what we hear from our entrepreneurs. So you mentioned grants. We work together really closely as a community to understand what tools we have, what entrepreneurs need, and how we can collectively fill the gap. And the more we hear about concerns about unemployment or the need for grants, the more we're able to respond at scale across the community with that data. So the data that we're all collecting, both anecdotally and through surveys that we're sending out, help us better serve. But if we don't hear from you, then we don't make sure that your needs and your voice are lifted up into those solutions. And we're literally reacting in the moment to answer those questions. For Director Massey and the mayor to come up with a new expanded loan program in less than 2 weeks is unprecedented in the public sector, but that's how urgently this group of people are working to make sure that this community is served. So it is not an inconvenience for you to reach out to any of us. It is literally why we exist. So please raise your hand, call us, tell us how we can help, and we will continue to work around the clock to try and fill as many gaps as we can, because we know that entrepreneurs not only create economies, but they build cities. And without all of these efforts, we wouldn't be the marvelous and wonderful place we are here in Memphis. So please don't feel bad to ask us for help.
I like that. I like that, Leslie. Just a couple of additional comments. You know, we work at the Chamber with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and an organization called the Association of Chamber of Commerce Executives. And what I will tell you is there is a grant program for small business, and it's through the U.S. Chamber Save Small Business Program. And what they allow is grants. $5,000 in grants can be used for any business expense. Grants will be awarded on a weekly basis, but only one application is needed. It applies to specific zip codes in Shelby County directly, and that includes 1-827-5303-04-05-06-07, 116-111. It applies. I'm going to send all of this to you because it has a listing. So for those stylists and barbershops, this is a grant, and it's through the U.S. Chamber, and you apply online, and it's at savesmallbusiness.com. savesmallbusiness.com, but you will receive this. So I want you to know that it's not just locally, it's some national entities affiliated with chamber organizations that's also trying to save small business. The other thing I wanted to say is on our website, and it's memphischamber.com, and we have /now COVID-19, so you can go directly to our resource page. But we also have about 73 employers who are looking for employees. And I know a lot of people are out of jobs. Some of those employers, it might be 6 divisions of FedEx, but all of them have jobs available, and they're not just low wage jobs. So what I'm saying to you is there is a wealth, and we have the listing on our website, all 70 some odd of them. And they talk about job categories, who you need to talk to, how you need to apply. So if you all have folks who need to work because they're trying to fill a gap, a lot of their requirements are not going to be nearly as stringent as they would be otherwise. So I'm going to suggest that you go to that page on our website and you look at what jobs are available. I was looking at some of the wages. It's pretty solid. And it would be something that you wouldn't be embarrassed to have. I had a friend who called me from Houston and said she needed a job. I looked on the website. I'm thinking there are several jobs that I'm going to refer her to. She's from.
Absolutely.
So what I'm saying is not only are we trying to help save small business, but you have individuals in your constituency base that need to work right now.
Right.
And there are decent jobs out there for them to hold so that they can make it over this hump or whatever the
Yes.
hump is that they may have. So I just wanted to add that to the equation as well.
And that was one of the things, the things that we haven't touched on. One of the final things that I wanted to bring up was upskilling or retooling during this time. Even if you have to not close your business, but during this uncertain time or time of transition, could either of you speak to upskilling or retooling or just kind of preparing them to look at those things? Even once we come out of this, some of the businesses may not be open or they may, be doing business differently. So can you all, as we, kind of close it out, talk to that moving forward, some recovery strategies and potentially upskilling or retooling or redoing, like Joanne, you alluded to earlier, making sure that your business practices are in order and that things are in place. So if you ever at a place like this again, you'll have things in place where you can go ahead and apply. I know entrepreneur, they have been working on certifications and getting all their ducks in a row and everything. And they were one of the first ones to apply immediately. And they've already gotten all of the money, everything they applied for, they've received that money. And they're an entrepreneur, a chef, so can you either one of you speak to that or each of you?
Yeah. If I'll just start and just kind of kick it off to the team, because again, there's really, Councilwoman, nothing that we do that's not a collaboration. Even the successes that you mentioned earlier with the mayor, again, that's all been a collaboration. But at the Entrepreneurs Network Center, which of course we're virtual, we don't know how long that's going to be. But we have programming, and through these partnerships, we help businesses to analyze where they are. As Beverly mentioned, and I'm pretty much, if you have not seen this chamber website, you need to see it, and every single person on this call needs to see it. We sent it out through our email system. It's also linked to our website, but they have so many resources there. So I'm looking at that on a daily basis, like Beverly said, about the jobs and the opportunities, the different companies. We are looking at that to help businesses look at what's for tomorrow, what's in the future, what can they be doing. We have over 80 janitorial companies on our certified list. We are actually calling them to say, hey, look, you may not be cleaning offices now, but hazmat cleaning may be something that you can get into. So hazmat isn't a certification that you think about from the state or whatever, but it's more about after COVID incidents or a suspicion of COVID or the kind of coronavirus, people need to come and clean up. So these are things that we're looking at. Again, our office is a resource for you to start there. We're actually going to be launching a program called Ready Business that's going to look at, after the recovery and after we get the policies, and I'll be remiss not to mention for the city of Memphis, along with the mayor and Doug McGowan, Cal Veazey, who is the chief operating officer for the city of Memphis, is a part of that special task force that Beverly mentioned, who's helping to write the policy on the recovery and reopening. And Kyle and I work really closely together. He's an amazing person. So Councilwoman, if you haven't talked to him, I would encourage you to reach out to him and hear about what he has to say. But this reopening, this Ready Business program that we're going to be launching is going to involve all of these groups. The 800 Initiative with Andre Folks, Brian Behringer with CBU, of course, Leslie and Epicenter, and all the partners you see here. We're going to be helping businesses get back on their feet. But I know that Leslie in particular can talk about the specialized programming that we're looking at and how we're analyzing businesses, particularly through her Entrepreneurs in Residence, which is an amazing program.
Thank you, Joanne. I think, you know, one of the things that we're trying to remember is while we're reacting to the crisis, we're also reacting to opportunities. And there are opportunities for entrepreneurs and small businesses to reimagine what their future looks like. Essential businesses still have the opportunity to grow, and we're trying to create scaling strategies with those folks. We're working with all of the folks that Joanne mentioned and StartCo downtown, who generally runs our technology accelerator programs with us, but is also working with us to create a multi-week program for pivoting businesses into a virtual environment, into a post-COVID environment. And we stand ready to take folks into that program. And that includes these Main Street businesses, which are really the heartbeat of our economy and not just technology-based businesses. I also think it's important to imagine the opportunities to reconsider what your expense profile looks like. So we've talked a lot about new capital sources, but in these moments, it's also a really good time to reimagine your entire business model. And we have financial experts on standby to have one-on-one conversations with you to really evaluate your business and financial models and ways that you can tighten or strengthen those in this moment. And so while the quickness of the shutdown was painful, I think we're into that hopeful moment about organizing resources and reimagining what a post COVID-19 world can look like. And as an extension of that, we're also thinking about what does reentry look like? So many of your entrepreneurs may be concerned about how do I reopen? And this collaboration is also thinking about what are best practices for our small businesses to do those things in a social distanced environment? And what are the impacts of those decisions on your revenue and your net profits? And so I think you are right to lift up that there are opportunities, and we will all have to change the way we think about how we address our markets. But we're hopeful that in doing that, we have sort of thriving businesses that just look a little bit different in how they function on the other side.
And what I'll just speak to the retooling piece. Sure, like everyone else, we've been combing through our budget, trying to see where we can cut and reallocate funding to better respond to COVID-19. And one of the things we've decided that we can best help and kind of, get the most out of our limited resources is there are a number of grant dollars and programs that have been mentioned today that are local, but they also require that business to present a plan on how they're going to reimagine and weather the storm for the next 90 to 120 days and how they see themselves continuing on as a business. And so we know people may need some help putting that together so they can then access those grant dollars. So we're putting together a small pool of funds that can help someone with some consulting to help them establish those plans so they can then be able to apply to that funding and hopefully access those grant dollars in terms of retooling their organization in a situation where they can then access more dollars that are being offered through some of these other organizations.
Yeah, and I'll just add about utilizing definitely our Southwest Tennessee Community College continuing education programs. So making sure that they're developing the skills. So whether it's, IT, those type of related positions, or either skills that you need for the workforce for now and for the future, taking advantage of those. And also for just small business owners, something that I would be looking at would be federal government contracting. So you see the money that the federal government is spending right now, and there's of course a lot of different news about other things that may be going on in the future. But looking at how can I sell my product or service to the federal government. So if I don't have those type of certifications, great time to go ahead and start applying for those certifications right now.
Yes, and I am gonna have to get off. I'm probably 15
Okay.
minutes late for the next call, but I just simply wanted to say that we're doing a lot of work in the upskill area, working with a number of service providers so that we can work with our partners to prepare people not just for the jobs of today, but the jobs of tomorrow. And the
Mhm.
jobs of tomorrow are going to look a little bit different. They're going to be about artificial intelligence. It's going to be about robotics. It's going to be about technology. And there are a lot of areas, thanks to work that Leslie has done in advance with the chamber and other entities. We funded a study that really talks about what are the industries that are aligned with the assets of Memphis. So we know what they are. And so now we can begin to talk to the school system in Southwest Tennessee Community College about building curricula for students in high school to begin to get them ready for the jobs that we know will exist, not just today, but for tomorrow. So we're trying to also work with service providers to upskill, because we don't do that. Southwest does that, and other entities like that do that. And there are lots of people out here in the space. And the last comment that I would make is we're not just looking at how does business recover, but frankly, we need to understand how Memphis is going to recover. And when I say that, we got to reset Memphis. We don't want the same Memphis pre-COVID-19 that we'll have. I mean, we need a different one after COVID-19, and it needs to deal with the issues of equity. Equity in housing, equity in economics, equity in education, equity in opportunity. If we don't use this as a platform to springboard Memphis into the future in a major way, shame on us, because we have this opportunity to create the Memphis that we know we've all wanted to have. And I will tell you that I'm starting with business community, because that's where the rubber meets the road. And so we're standing up a group that's going to look at not just recovery, but resilience. What could have been in place that would have avoided the trauma that small businesses feel right now? What should they have done? How do they put in place business continuity plans? What other things do we need to think about to add to the resilience of small business? The other side of that is business reset. What are we going to do differently tomorrow that's going to make it easier for people to feel that they're getting equity in the decisions that are made by local government and that come before our city council and our county commission? We have got to get to a point where we are driving equity in this. And I know, Leslie, we've talked about it. Joanne, we've talked about it. Eric, we've talked about it, but it's time to stop talking. We we got to put together a plan to make it real. And that's where we are. All of us are on the same page. So for City Councilwoman Cheyenne Johnson, who's in my area, hey Cheyenne, and for Councilwoman Logan, trust me, we are looking at this issue and we've got to change. We got to flip the script on this.
Absolutely, and I'm sure we will. To you all's credit as well. There are some questions. There are three last questions that we're going to answer before we get off. I appreciate everything that you all have shared tonight. We're giving my constituents hope and information where they can go and access resources, not just through COVID, but beyond as well. You know, getting them access or assistance right now, as well as helping them prepare to be better on the other side. That's what we were looking for. Do any of you or either of you know of any personal care businesses that have received assistance? A natural affair beauty lounge, is that one? Okay, great. And those other questions that are in the queue, if you could answer those, we could get those to the people that answered them, that asked them. Another one was churches. Is there any financial assistance for churches? I have a lot of churches in my district, and you know my background, so I want to know what can churches do?
Well,
For
churches are
assistance.
definitely eligible for the Paycheck Protection Program.
Okay.
So the churches can apply for PPP, and I know several churches that received it, especially, those who have, churches with childcare. So it's so they may have dozens or even more employees. So since a lot of childcare places are closed right now, So PPP is definitely available for any church, any nonprofit right now.
Oh, okay, wonderful. Okay. And the last question, and I hated that I meant to tell Ms. Robertson, thank you for being with us. She had to leave, but has shared a great wealth of information. The last question that was posed was, would credit prevent someone from receiving a forgivable loan?
I can let Rory answer about the SBA and maybe what they are looking at, but I'll tell you, Councilwoman, with the city, that is reviewed in our underwriting, but we understand the community that we are living in and the times that we're living in. So please, please don't let your credit prevent you from applying at all. Not with city government and not with our quasi-governmental agencies either, like EDGE and DMC. Again, I know it's reviewed in underwriting, but it is not the determining factor. And so Roy can speak about SBA and of course Leslie and Eric about theirs.
Yeah, so it's exactly as Joanne mentioned. It is one of the factors, but not the only or the biggest factor. But it goes into the decision.
Okay.
Same with us. Something that we obviously look at, but it's not a determining factor.
Well, we definitely want you all to apply. Still apply. As I said, that's the best thing to do, is to apply and to reach out to these entities that can assist you with directing you to where you need to go. So anyone here can help you get to where you need to go, can get you to the resources that are available locally as well as nationally. They're very capable and willing. So I do appreciate all of you for being on tonight, for answering, the questions, for helping us navigate through this platform as well as this time in our community. If you would, all of the links that you shared, if you could forward me all of the information, and we'll make that available to everyone that's on here. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Please follow City Council on our social media platforms. Make sure you're staying safe and well. I am praying for all of you in my district and making sure that I'm reaching out to you. You all can reach out to me and I'll get you connected as well to these entities. Thank y'all for the hard work that you do in our city, and we will be right back here next week for a community conversation. Next week we'll be dealing with minding our assets, personal and community. We're at home, we're sheltering in, so we gotta make sure that we're minding our assets, personal and community. Thank you so much, and you all have a great night. Stay safe at home and be well. God bless.
Thank you, Councilwoman, for your leadership on holding this and putting it together, and hopefully there'll be not only more from you, but more from your colleagues.
As well, yes, most definitely. A lot of them are already doing things. I know Michael at Easter Thomas has a weekly
On the
Facebook Live.
Mm-hmm.
So we just appreciate you all, and we want to be here for our constituents. So we'll be calling on you guys as well as we move forward. But thank you all for your leadership. Good night.